All right, we're going to open up the Water and Sewer Commissioners meeting on March 4, 2021, and it is now 5:15. And we're going to be talking about the budget, and we're also going to meet with Bob on engineering for economic development.
Okay, you want me to start, or Mr. Chairman, how do you want to do this?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, I was,
yeah, we'll start for 2, because we got to go over the budget after, so.
okay, just to give you a quick update on the 1 million square foot warehouse. Purchase and sale agreements were supposed to have been signed last week, which needless to say, they're still not signed, to our dismay. A lot of behind the scenes work going on that right now. What is going on is the clock starts ticking on this engineering process. The numbers that I got from Bob and Gina Britton of Stantec, was the preliminary design, $107,000, of which $35,000 is budgeted for survey. Stantec does not do the survey. They always sub that out. So we've got Andy Leonard and Kevin Loberso working with Mark Allen to do the actual survey, get that done. The good news with that is they've already started that, and they've put a top priority on it. The survey includes just some of the items, wetland flagging and mapping. We know along Gilboa Street, that entire street's probably all wetlands off to the south side. Pretty close to 99% of it.
You're within the 100 or 200.
Yeah,
So,
they're pretty much at any given time.
yeah.
North Street, you've got the river right there, so you're within, if you come 100 feet up the street, you're touching that part, and I don't know.
You're in the road, we're not working off the road now, so, but it's still, yeah, you're within, actually, it's not much of North Street.
Okay, and
We did
northeast,
the bridge section, we got us out of the corner.
yeah,
So we're on the other side of the corner, so it's from there up,
okay.
which I think you'll probably be outside
But then we parallel the river for a couple hundred feet, don't we?
on Gilboa.
On North Street, on the west side?
But it goes around
No.
Hayward. It goes around Schuster, the Hayward Landing.
No, it'd be nowhere near it.
So you're not even within 200 and
Okay.
most of that. You are right down near the bridge, but at the bridge, it shoots off that way and goes down behind Hayward Landing, so.
Yeah. And the main reason for that is so they can put in the erosion control,
Right.
the burlap bags or what, bay hails, whatever they use.
I think there's curbing and everything there, so I don't see that there's any risk to get it out there. I mean, for
Yeah, and there's no manhole covers on Gilboa, right, that they have
those
to?
manhole covers, but that's sewer. And then there is some drain covers there too. There's some drainage and stuff we'd have to talk to John about.
Okay,
But I think there's probably a couple catch basins that we might have, they just have to put those things in the catch basins, so.
yeah,
They get the thing that just sits in the cover now.
Yeah, so I mean, you just drop those little bags.
yeah, and it, right, and it just flares up,
Yeah.
keep the debris out. Yeah, Andy has already,
And northeast Maine, just so you get that river crossing there, right down by Charles.
right,
The stream that comes through, so. But other than that stream, I don't think there's any issue.
yeah, you start going uphill and it's all uphill.
Yeah, everything's up
Yeah.
from there.
So Andy has already reserved an engineer to do the flagging for next week, so that's at least getting on its way. We have to paint
Mark out, yeah, we gotta
all
mark
the
out the water
roads.
lines, the sewer lines, all the service connections, the curb boxes. He already marked out, I think, all the curb boxes on Gilboa. I'm assuming he'll get most of them done in northeast Maine, and the couple that he couldn't find on Gilboa tomorrow.
Yeah, and Mark Allen's going to take that data and plot it. Also going to determine road thickness, pavement thickness at certain points to see how much the cuts are. And there's a lot of engineering goes into the survey for this $35,000. The good news, it's going, and they're taking care of that cost right now. Once we get into the preliminary design, talking to Gina today, she's sending us a menu of items with prices, and we have to pick and choose which ones we want. We have to get to the 100% final design by June 4th. She thinks that's doable. It's tight.
100% now? I thought it was, originally it was 25, then it went to 75, so.
Well, with the new MassWorks grant, you read the fine line. If you're 25%, you go into the preliminary engineering, the state will give you a whopping $100,000, and that's it. This is a $3 million project. $100,000 ain't gonna help us.
No.
So we're looking for the 50% coverage, which is round numbers, $1.5 million of state financial aid. We're also taking the line from Dunkin' Donuts and extending it towards Blackstone Logistics Center, that new warehouse that's going on the 3 towns. What that does two things. One, it gets you revenue, but more importantly, it gets us into a different bucket for classification of our grant. Instead of a single-town grant, we jump to the 3-town tier grant. It just carries more weight. Our application for MassWorks becomes that much stronger by doing that. So just extending that line up. Now, Bob and I are in talks with Randy from Whitensville. I called Beal and Thomas today. Their engineer, Dan Feeney, left a message. He didn't call me back to see if he wants that line extended all the way to the power grid, the power lines that cross Lackey Dam Road, because there's supposed to be an emergency access road from the warehouse through the electric easement onto Lackey Dam Road. Randy from Whitensville was going to run his line down from, it's a 2nd Street up, it's not Oakhurst, it's Jenny Drive, I think. That's where the 10-inch, he's got 8-inch from there going to Jenny Drive, but he has to go with 10 for fire suppression. So he's going to come down. If we can put the interconnect there, then our MassWorks grant would be larger, because we'd run our 12 or 10 from the entrance, put 10 in the middle. That's to be determined. But again, that interconnect makes our application stronger too.
To be honest, 10 inches is an oddball size.
So you might as well go with
You usually
12.
go 8 to 12. I know Whitensville's got 10. but-
Yeah, they got 10 from center of Northbridge all the way down.
I know.
And that's what they're running to Blackstone Logistics, if they do that. And we're trying to talk to the engineers to make sure they use both of us as a backup. Otherwise, if one system goes down with no backup, there's fire trucks there 24/7 until you get your water pressure back up. So they're looking into that right now. Once Gina gets the preliminary, well, she's going to be looking for a contract with the town. I said, let's just wait till tonight when we get our emails to find out what she wants, and then we have to sit down with the powers to be and find out how we're going to pay for this. But you had mentioned several minutes ago there might be an item to grab, because what's left over is $72,000 for preliminary.
Was that, I'd have to look, I don't have that email with me, but
That's the one you sent me with preliminary design, was 107, of which 35 was survey, so that leaves 72 for preliminary.
yeah, no, I don't have 72. But I was under the assumption that it was 25 or 75% and not all the other stuff, so we probably have a portion of that within the budget.
Well, if we can get that land sale going, that 17.7 acres, selling that land, we're going to have $200,000-300,000 left over when you subtract the cost of the bridge, depending on what the final bid is, the proposal. We're just putting out for bid what they come back, that price minus the $750 for the bridge. Whatever's money left over, we can allocate it for this. So if the timing is good, we might have those funds available to pay for some of this, or maybe get a developer to front us some money in the meantime, just to keep this going. It's to their advantage to have this not stop at any point in the process, because we do not have any cushion whatsoever. This one company has just backed us into a wall, into a corner right now, and I just hope we can walk away from it unscathed.
So are they looking, is it, I know the couple meetings ago that you had, you know, give us this information here, and has anything on that was the 1 million square feet?
Yeah, the 1 million square foot warehouse.
There was 4 different options, I guess, which company came
The
in.
3 different options, the one that I think is moving forward is we don't want this, we don't want this, we just want it done. If
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And again, until the P&S is assigned, we don't know who that is.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, that person, that company wants to come in and say, if we haven't gotten this done, here's your money, get it done. So, the funds might be available. I don't think we'll be requesting anything from the Water Sewer Commissioners. I think we've got it covered for now. What I'm worried about is future projects, so we can avoid this panic mode that we're in right now.
But I still think we need to, the warrant, the article's closed tomorrow, so if we need an article on the warrant for engineering money, we need to have that by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'd be looking for 72.
72,000?
Not for this project. This project is already covered.
Right, but for the.
But for a future project, and again,
Well, you think this one's covered, but we still have to have the money allocated. I don't know, do you have the 107 covered? I mean, I know they covered the 35 right now, but
Who covered the 35?
property owners.
The owner?
yeah,
Okay.
the owners who will be bidding on it.
Yeah, all right. So the 72?
Yeah, for the survey, the 35,000, that's covered, and that work
Because
is already
They need
started.
surveying for their site anyway,
Right,
so, them covering surveying, because our engineers don't have a staff of surveyors, they sub it out anyway, so,
Yeah.
where the surveying information comes from, the engineers don't care, they just need the data, so.
And I thought the money had to be available and ready to use for the MassWorks grant. Or is the engineering not covered?
The engineering, before we can even submit the mass works, has to be done.
Right.
So we have to have the engineering done before it was June.
June 4th is his submit day.
So we have to have the engineering done for June 4.
Pretty much 100% to be called shovel ready.
Right. So,
Now, there might be a little leeway on that, we might hit it, but it needs backup documentation, so I don't want to submit an incomplete application.
No.
It just does not look good.
So was your recommendation that we put in for an article for engineering on this particular project, that it obviously can be pulled, we don't need it?
That probably could be good insurance.
How is that going to affect the future for the additional, for the other mass project?
But we don't know what's in the pipeline right now. I mean, if Vecchione sells property and all of a sudden the warehouse is going on his property, now North Street becomes priority, and that's after this. This is obviously priority number one. This is ongoing. This is
So the next one would be either
Davis or North Street, again, that's part of your wish list. That's your 3 top priorities right there. North Street will be extensive.
that's a big one.
That's a big project. So your engineering costs are roughly 10%.
They're typically about 20%.
20%, I mean,
10% is the front end, and then on the back end, it's the inspections and the,
right, we're not worried about that right now.
right, so to get you going, to get you to MassWorks point is probably 10%.
Right, that's what I was thinking. So if this is worth $3 million, you're looking at, what, a tank that's worth?
I was just saying, it all depends on what your ultimate goal is there. I mean, if you're talking 1 million square foot again, and up North Street, the storage tank, and then looping back down to Gilboa, you're,
Now, can we get away without the loop and have the tank on top of the hill supplying pressure for one spot, one building?
the tank would supply pressure for all of it. It's just looping down through benefits all the projects.
Right.
actually a cross-country line that goes down through.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would go through that west side connector, and we
Yes.
still don't know where that's going.
Right.
That
That's
could be
what I mean.
moved.
So it depends on what the scope of the project you're
Yeah.
talking about is. If it's just the portion up on North Street and you're not coming out on the properties that come down to Gilboa Street, then that's a different,
It would be the property right off North Street, right there, so you would just stub the line down.
yeah, so if you're not including the other portion of land that comes out, that's.
Right, and that will complete the loop, because those projects will determine the location of the road, which is where you put the pipe.
So you're saying if there was a tank just feeding that where the showing property.
Right.
Yeah, stubbed off for wherever it would be.
For future.
Yeah.
And it might happen all at once, we don't know.
Okay. So,
But I would say that you're still talking, to get up there and everything, you're gonna need pipe into Vecchione's and a tank, you're probably up in the $5 million range.
All right, so you're looking at 500,000 for engineering then, which is a sizable chunk of change.
Yeah. I mean, you start getting into tanks and stuff, you're, probably minimum $1 million.
Mhm.
And then half of that, that's where you gotta start looking really down the future, because you gotta size that tank appropriately to handle everything over there.
did you, I was telling Bob, if you could give him a copy of the industrial development study that was done some years back, which included the upgrades of what needed to be done, including looping that line down through. It was a part of the whole master plan.
The master plan,
Yeah.
that's online. You must have access to all of Bill's reports that he had online.
On our website? Yeah.
Well, it's not our website, it's whatever he created. You need, trying to find it's a nightmare unless you know where it looks.
I can probably dig it up if I have a hard copy, but also there was another one that was done when they did the original, they did the planning for the sewer plant. We did a build-up analysis on what the
They did a
industrial.
build out for the sewer.
Yeah, for the design of the sewer plant, what would be encompassed based on all that, so I think they had some recommendations in that.
But I don't think they planned on the scale that we're getting into now, just because
But it is just for-
they designed the treatment plant for 600,000.
Yeah.
And if you've got multiple million square foot buildings, that's gonna far exceed whatever you originally designed in that plan, it would almost
Yeah,
guarantee.
depending on what the use is, right.
So,
Yeah, from what I understand, these warehouses do not use much sewage.
Uses in bathrooms.
I don't know, it depends. When Andy came in originally, he said it could be 500 employees, could be 1,500 employees going around the clock. So 1,500 employees is 80 to 100,000.
Yeah, but that's amongst 3 shifts, so,
But still, 1,500, I
Still.
mean, we base it on people, and that's
Yeah.
gonna be roughly 80 to 100,000 gallons, whether
Yeah.
they're round, 1 shift or 3 shifts. You're basing it on people, and it's gonna be, 80 to 100,000 gallons. And if you've got 3 of those, now we're over our wastewater permit capacity.
now, for comparison, the Blackstone Logistics Center is a 650,000 square foot building. They're putting in a septic,
Yeah, they're talking
10,000.
7,500 gallons a day,
Yeah.
which is,
They said 5,000 to 8,000 gallons a day.
yeah, I think they said they were designing for 7,500 or 8,000 for a septic.
Yeah, as long as they're under 9999, they're good for septic.
And actually I recently heard that it went up to 15,000.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they might be able to get a septic in for 15,000 gallons there.
Would you be interested in connecting to them for sewer, or you're not? Because I can.
To be honest with you, sewer, if they can put in a septic and manage, they're better,
They're better.
because it recharges the aquifers,
Okay,
as opposed to, it comes to us, we treat it, it goes out the river, and it ends up in Narragansett Bay. So, we're always more leaning towards having septics put in, because you're recharging instead of sending them out of town. So it works out better all around for the environment, and,
yeah.
That's why I did the Sutton sewer plant, and all the charges to the ground.
yeah, they have a groundwater discharge, but we have too much to discharge. They're only a 60,000 gallon a day plant.
Yeah. I mean, that was designed so the water could recharge the area.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. we could have that, that'd be much better, because you get away from a federal permit, you go to a state permit, and the limits are a lot better, and it's easier to meet.
And the Shell station is on septic now. They'll stay septic, even doubling in size.
Yeah, it's all nice material up there.
So the only new septic, the only new sewer would be our 1 million square foot warehouse coming into our new pumping station.
Yeah. But the Shell station did call me today, and they're asking about adding a connection up there. But there's already a connection there, so
Connection for,
whatever they're expanding. So I guess they bought that lot next to it. That there was an original discussion about a car wash going there years ago with us. But,
yeah,
so they bought that lot, and there's already a 2-inch stub for that lot, so.
on the water main.
On the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend, it's already stubbed off to the property line, so there's a valve there and everything, you can just tie into that.
Tie into it.
What do we need for the warrant article?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So worst case scenario is 72,000 for an article?
Yeah, worst case scenario is, and then you've got the 30,000 for final design. So really 72, 102. I've got final design 30. And this is old, I don't know if this will agree with what Gina will be sending tonight.
This is what she's gonna base it off of. Yeah, so now you gotta add in that 30, because she wants the,
Yep.
So you get 102,000.
102,000. Do you want to go for 110 just for round numbers and a little cushion?
This board doesn't do round numbers.
I'm
Bob.
saying the problem is we don't have a lot of money in retained earnings, and whatever we earmark at a town meeting, I won't be able to use for the whole next fiscal year, and until free cash or retained earnings is certified in November, so if we earmark that, it kind of messes with us on other projects that we might have for this budget, so we gotta be careful on that.
Okay,
It ties up the retained earnings until the state recertifies it for the following next year,
All right, yeah.
so we couldn't transfer it at a special town meeting, even if we weren't gonna use it, they still have to recertify.
So we gotta try to keep that as close to the number that we need as possible.
so 102 looks like the
Be
number
the
we
best
need.
bet, and then we would want to pull it before town meeting if there was another funding source that we identified before we get to that point.
And there might be.
Right, so if
Yeah.
that comes through, we'd want to know that. We don't want to just let it go through town meeting and get it approved, and then just say, well, it's there in case we need it, and if we don't need it, we don't use it, but it just kind of stiffs us on the other end, so.
Mhm.
If we know there's another funding source, I'd rather pull it before
Pull
it
it
gets
right
voted on
before
at town meeting.
May 2nd.
Yes. Or even on the floor.
Or on the floor, you could pull
Yeah,
it,
we
yeah.
pull it on the
Just
floor.
pass over on the floor if you
Yeah.
want.
Hopefully, we'll know which direction we're going in.
I would
you know,
assume by that point we would.
I would hope so, because it's frustrating. All right, so that's the avenue we'll take right now. We'll worry about future projects when they show up.
But there's, well, while we're discussing this, that's 102 we came up with, but as I said before, we've got that line item that we earmarked 75,000 for an engineering project, and it only came in at 15.
Right.
So we've got 60 there. It would probably be more prudent to use some of the 60 to get some of this done if we were going to do that, and get that article down. So it would just be whatever the remaining balance.
42.
Problem with that's why with the numbers I'm not sure,
And I know, and
the generator.
but that's why I was saying I put money for the generator article. I mean, I haven't finalized the number yet. We'll discuss that tonight, but we want to factor both those in.
Yeah.
The generator article's one thing, so that's one that I already know is going to come out of the retained earnings. The other, that's why I'm saying we want to kind of refrain from using retained earnings as much as possible. And if I've got money in the budget this year, it won't get, if we just let it go back to retained earnings, it doesn't go back till November. So if we use that and then just make up the difference with an article,
Yeah.
that makes it the cleanest money use-wise.
I see where you're going with that. Great.
And Matt was gonna combine your generator with the town generator.
We talked about that, but we're running on a tight time frame.
Yeah,
It sounds great, but he's talking about he needs a generator here, and I know we need a portable, but this generator needs to be done before July, so we're trying to do that for special town meeting, and I don't want to have all the other generators slow this one down, because
Right,
delivery
yours
time on
is
the
critical.
generator is 12
Yeah.
to 16 weeks, so.
And this thing's kind of critical, too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a couple of light bulbs.
Yeah, we don't just get to say, all right, everybody go home until power comes back on.
yeah, that's right.
And it's still flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still flushing.
Yeah.
It's still flushing upstream. Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, so out of that 102, you said you could use some of that engineering from, I mean, that's up to you guys, how you want to handle
Instead
it.
of going right to 60, you want to go to 50? Leave yourself a buffer zone in that bucket?
Yeah, I mean, we should leave a little bit there. I'm just saying, I would use some of what we have as opposed to article for the entire 102 or whatever it was.
So that means we can take off, what, 60 off the 102?
Well, but Keith's just saying, maybe say 50, so you leave a little
50.
buffer in there, because that
Yeah.
project's not done yet, and you never know with engineers,
But
oh, well, then this
I
and
think my
that.
suggestion, if you guys agree, we still keep it at the 102, and then it can be lowered at town meeting until then by the time it gets closer to,
Yeah,
we get a number where we're closer to where it'll actually be, and then we
okay.
can reduce it down to whatever number.
Right, you can reduce it, but not increase it at a town meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's true, because then we'll be into collections, we'll have a better idea of what this budget's
Yeah,
looking
we'll
like.
see where we stand, and,
We'll have a harder number to talk
Yeah.
about.
Okay. That works for me. At least I know there's funding for this engineering to get that done, because that's critical. We can get this done by June 4th.
Yeah, that'll be good. Keep everything.
Another
so since I
crisis.
have to have this in tomorrow, we want that article to be 102 for engineering, 102 from retained earnings for engineering and design of the water main upgrades.
Infrastructure upgrades.
Infrastructure upgrades, yeah. Okay.
I imagine you're gonna list out, you probably have to list out the
I have to list the
the
roads.
roads, and
Yeah.
you'll make sure it's
Yeah,
good.
there was a hang-up one year with the direction or
Yeah,
something.
Bob knows about that.
Yeah.
The
We didn't move
northeast,
forward anyways.
northeast section of town.
Make sure you take a compass reading.
Southeast there.
Make sure we're clear on that. That'll be good.
All right, and
So, good news.
MassWorks will pay for some of this engineering too, once they grant the final grant. So you guys are okay with running the water line past Dunkin' Donuts under 146 to Blackstone Logistics Center?
If it helps, if obviously we get along, we get some more grant money and.
Right, it increases the size of the grant, but it also elevates the grant to
Now,
a
how about,
new
I
status.
know there was discussion on the portioning tax-wise. Does that give us any leverage to increase?
Get a bigger percentage?
Correct. Because I know we're kind of the smallest piece of pie on that.
Yeah,
project, so-
we're, depending if you use land or building size, we're either 17 or 20% of the project.
So if, I'm sorry, go
But
ahead.
if it's hinging on us supplying water,
Water, we should get third.
I'm just saying, yeah, that might be a little bit towards the negotiation portion.
Right, because without,
I just
but
didn't know if that conversation had been had yet or not.
their response to that conversation would be, well, we'll get Whitensville water.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get Whitensville water, so we don't need you.
Yeah, go ahead, you're gonna pay 40% more on your rates, so.
Well, I did bring that up.
The water bills will be.
10-year plan, Douglas is a lot cheaper. And it's 3,000 feet versus 2,900 feet. So the distance of pipe is basically the same.
So is there any guarantee that they'll actually use any of our water? I mean, if we have to, and what is the cost for that portion to run down there?
Right, that was my concern when we initially discussed it.
Yeah.
Even if you get a grant for 50% of it,
Right, we're still paying 50%, but we're not gonna get any out
if
of
they're
it.
not gonna use it, they're not gonna turn it on, was the money well spent? I know it bumped it up on the, to get the grants for the other.
Well, they'll still be using it for water usage. It's not only fire suppression, they'll be using it for,
But that depends on how, if they do the interconnect, who, I mean,
Who's gonna use it?
who are
who's
they
the
gonna
water,
hire?
yeah.
Right, yeah.
Somebody's gonna be shut off, it's not gonna be, you know, a
Right.
valve.
I was thinking the interconnect would be a standby emergency
That's
use.
typically the theory behind it, but if both lines are there, you kind of need to have that discussion ahead of time,
Who's
because
gonna use what?
if we're paying to put it, even if it's only 50%, if we're paying to put in, 3,500 or 3,000,
Yeah.
whatever it is, feet of pipe, there's a significant expense to put that in, even if it's only at 50%. But 50% of, 3,000 feet, you said?
Yeah, 3,000.
So $600,000. So 600 grand to get a pipe down to them, if we pay 300,000 and we don't have any revenue coming in, because they're taking water from Whitensville.
No, I see what you're saying.
Now, does that put us in a better position, though, with the future with Pines?
No, because we're already,
We're already at.
We're already
that we need to
there.
be for Pine.
We are with the shell that takes us close
Because
enough?
all the discussions that I had within the last 10 years
Yeah,
was the road is going in where the hill is. and
where the
that's why
hill is.
The hill's coming down.
Okay.
So the only,
We're already there.
We're already
benefit
there.
I see is that it bumps us up on the, for the mass works.
MassWorks.
You got a better shot at the MassWorks grant, and like I said, potential
there-
negotiation on.
No, we don't have to go with the interconnect. It's, the Beals and Thomas is the one who's designing this. If they do not want backup, it's all us. We're still in Uxbridge with the elevated application, but we don't
Why
worry
would they
about
need
it.
backup? I don't know. I've
Well,
never heard of a water.
That's something I always preach, Bob. If you have the ability to do an interconnect,
Mhm.
especially with all this stuff going on, and God forbid we have some issue with the water system, and, wells fail, or we can't produce the water we need, if you have an interconnect, it's all right, let's open up and we'll buy water from you to
Yeah.
keep us going in an emergency. I mean, and if you go to any of the PFAS things, or look up any of them, or watch any of that stuff, that's one of the first things they're jumping on. Do you have the ability to interconnect with someone until we can get something designed or get this taken care of? And, I mean, the stuff I've seen with the PFAS, they've gone crazy, in my opinion. I mean, they're like, you guys are aware, every time you do a big water project, or try to get permitting for some type of project, it's a 2-year process. They approve PFAS treatments in 1 week. That's how crazy they're going over getting these in. And the level that they're monitoring the PFAS at is in parts per trillion. And, you're grabbing 100 mils of sample, and they're trying to measure something down to parts per trillion. So you don't even know if you got some of it in that sample. And the sampling that I've seen is so sporadic, it's ridiculous. And there's a 30% margin of error that they're allowing on the testing. So you got 20 parts per trillion is the limit. The 30% margin of error would be
6 each side.
6 each side. So now you're at 12 when your limit's 20. You got 12 parts per trillion sway that it could go, and your limit's 20. So you're more than 50% of your limit is, and you could be into a $5 million treatment plant over that.
Now, the water on Gilboa Street is fed from the bridge only, right?
No. It's fed from Mechanic Street and,
And, okay,
so we
so,
have 2 spots that it's fed from, and both spots are kind of bottom
so if we had a bridge collapse, you'd still have water coming in from another source.
a little bit. But
6 inch, it's an 8 inch, right? Is that an 8 inch coming down?
it's an 8-inch coming down now, yeah. We went 12 in the bridge.
Yeah.
And on Mechanic Street, it's 8-inch coming down to the bridge, and just after the bridge, it goes to 6. You get 8
So
to
that's a
6.
real choke point.
So if the
And
bridge,
it's, to be honest with you, that pipe's probably bottlenecked down to about a 4-inch on this side of the bridge, so you're really bottlenecked there.
Yeah.
Is there a pipe across Cook Street?
So it's critical that bridge does not collapse. that would put a kibosh
But that's one of the big reasons I was saying that.
for the loop
your
through the
main-
warehouse.
That's the main reason I want to go northeast
Yeah.
Main and loop it through and come back
Yes.
over. Because now you got a new ductile 12-inch line off of a 16 feeding that whole side, and you're not.
But until that loop is built, we don't have that capability to supply volume pressure downstream along Gilboa.
Correct.
I'm thinking of Blackstone Logistics construction starting in May.
Yeah, so until that loop is done,
Yeah,
we won't have the volume you need for fire protection.
right, and they won't need fire protection until May of 2022. It's a one-year project. They could tie in for construction water right now,
Yeah.
and they would have enough to meet their construction demands.
Yeah. Yeah, because you got plenty of pressure. It's just that 6-inch bottleneck on Gilboa from north to.
Yeah, as far as phasing of the construction, they would probably do the Shell Station to Logistics Center. That would be the first dig.
All right, so where are we at?
Then take care of, start on Main Street, do North Street, and then just continue with Gilboa. Northeast Main would be the last.
Yeah, northeast Maine would be last. I'd probably say you might want to do Gilboa before you do north.
North, okay,
Because you're only connecting up to the 12-inch that I've already put in.
right,
So it's not contingent on anything. And it's an 8-inch in north now.
Yep.
So you get rid of a 6-inch, which is your biggest bottleneck.
bottleneck,
And if you get to there with the 8, you're feeding from 2 sections. So
yep.
you're in better shape feeding that way than replacing a 8 to a 16 and still have a 6-inch bottleneck.
Yep, no, I agree, that makes sense.
So Gilboa would be the first section that I would recommend, then north.
Then north, then northeast Main, in Douglas, but again, the first section would be Blackstone Logistics, so they have construction water.
Yeah,
And a little fire protection with hoses, just in case.
yeah.
So just so I'm clear on the MassWorks grant on that, it's still elevated because we're still going Oxford, so it's-
Well, 3 towns, we're feeding a building that's in 3 towns, that's generating revenue for 3 towns and job creation for 3 towns.
so say if we didn't include that portion going down to Blackstone, does it still elevate because it's still going into Oxbridge?
No, if we don't put in that 3,000-foot line to Logistics Center, we become a 1-town application. 3 streets that Bob just mentioned.
So they wouldn't consider that section's already done and it goes from into Oxbridge.
Right. We have a strong application to begin with, this just makes it a lot stronger. And it prioritizes it too.
So it's, I guess if they're going to 6 or 300.
And you're looking at job creation, if ours is 500 to 1,500, they have 600 people, you just put their 600 people on top of our numbers, now it's 1,100 to 2,000 jobs. The state looks at that and their eyes get big.
So it's just a matter of if it warrants the extra 300,000.
Well, I think their contractor should pay for what MassWorks does not pay.
I agree, I wouldn't suggest that, but.
They were gonna put it in anyways.
Well, that you could legitimately say, that's a single benefit, single user.
But I
That
wasn't
is-
sure, I wasn't sure if you could tie that into the MassWorks grant, saying that.
Yeah,
Do they
I'm-
assume that the
I'm
municipality?
not sure on that, yeah.
Do they assume the municipality is doing that, or?
Yeah, I would have to ask that specific question, because I was concerned about that too, if they specifically pay for it, but, and will MassWorks pay for half of what they were gonna put in anyways?
Well, you could do like Southbridge did in Charlton. Yeah, we'll run it. It's a $300 convenience fee for you tying into our water.
300,000?
300, yeah, they did, it was a 200,000 plus the 40,000 connection fee. That, so, and it wasn't even to the town, it was to a little apartment complex that needed water because their well was contaminated. So they had to pay to put the line in, and then they also had to pay a $200,000 connection fee, or convenience fee, or a privilege fee, I think they called it. $200,000 privilege fee and $40,000 connection fee. So, if we were looking at it saying that that contractor should pay for that, because we shouldn't be paying to run that line down there, because it's a sole benefit for them. You know, just put in an agreement that we'll do a MassWorks grant, we're gonna save you half, but you pay the other half in whatever form need be.
different way to approach it.
Okay.
And there's a chance our 1 million square foot warehouse builder will pay for our half. The reason we're upgrading the system for them.
Right.
You still have to go prevailing wage and all that stuff with MassWorks. Well, I hope we get to those easy questions.
Yeah.
We need to
I know.
get to that point. So,
It's too bad we could do it for half price.
oh, I know, or less.
Oh, less.
Or less.
Right.
But it's not a single user at this point. They would be a single user from Shell Station
Yes.
to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only single user, yeah.
So they wouldn't consider that a single user for the purpose of the 1 million square foot?
No, because you might have to Carroll Mill hook in,
The procurement officer's opinion is no.
and we tried.
Yeah. Trust me, I tried over. it.
I'm just, I don't know if I'm thinking wrong or not, but would we, if we run that main down at Gilbo Street, will we be tying the mill in for water protection, or they would
That's
just
a-
still?
That's a conversation that needs to be had.
Now, he's tied in for just domestic water right now, but not fire
His
suppression
fire protection is for the river.
from the river.
Yeah, he has a pump that pulls water out of the mud hole across the street.
Yep.
My opinion is you wouldn't put out a fire in July and August.
Well, with mud you would.
Yeah.
Now that pump's
Smother
not gonna pump the mud.
And I don't think we're realizing that what they projected for usage down there anyway. I mean, I thought there were numbers thrown around like $90,000 a year or something.
For the mill?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's,
They're up there.
they're the, there's three competing for the highest users. That
Yeah.
I just rearranged all the numbers. It's the school, Hayward, and the mill.
okay.
Because they were originally 20,000 cubic feet.
Yep.
They were 100,000 cubic feet.
Oh, so they got up
They
there.
exceeded 100,000.
Okay,
So
all right, so it
I
got
think
up
they
there.
actually used more
Yeah.
than they originally
And
said.
is that recent, like within the last,
This was this billing cycle.
This billing cycle?
I just
Yeah,
pulled all
all right.
those
That's
numbers.
because of the grow on second floor.
yeah, so they finally realized that number then that they talked about initially with us.
Yeah.
Good.
So we are seeing revenue from that. so.
Good.
Okay. I'm all set. Anything else?
Put the good work.
Thanks. Well, it's teamwork at this point.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting involved, so.
Try to keep everything rolling. I appreciate you coming in.
All right, no, thanks for inviting me. So,
Hope you have unlimited minutes on your phone.
I do.
Wow, hey.
If I didn't, I'd be a bunch of burner phones. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a good evening, good luck, and stay safe.
All right.
I'll see if I can find out if my wife's home. Spend more time here than I do at home.
One thing that I did try to get an idea for, it does seem like they're pretty much just a slow, steady feed over there, like they originally said.
Yep,
I know we were skeptical as they were just saying that to keep us quiet,
yeah, yeah,
but it does look like it's a slow, steady flow,
Yeah.
from what I can tell.
yeah. Well, that's great that that was finally realized that.
All right, so we're gonna have to put in what, that 102,000 in the article?
So put an article forward for 102 for engineering.
And we can pull that if we have to.
We can reduce it.
We can reduce
We can
it.
You can reduce it or
Or pull it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We have what, till a town meeting in May, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and this will be on a special.
Okay.
But I think that if we get to the point that we're at town meeting for this article, we might be in trouble, because a majority of this engineering needs to be done before that push. Because the application has to be in by June 4th. And it's town meeting's first week in May. So that's 1 month to try to push Stantec to get all of that done. But I think that's why Gene is sending us an itemized list, so that we can, like I said, we may have money in the budget right now to do some portion of it. So if she sends us an itemized list, it's a matter of saying, all right, we have money in the budget, start moving forward on these. And then, that way they can get some of the stuff that might be time consuming out of the way prior to town meeting. Because if we're at town meeting, that 30 days might not be enough time to get everything done to get the submission.
Right, and then we can adjust the number accordingly.
Right. Yeah, I'll still write the article for the 102. I'm just saying, just want you to be aware that if we get to the point that we need the 102 the first week in May, it's going to be a really tight.
30 days to get started, so get.
Right, to get started, to get to that point is going to be tough. Especially that time of year, because I'm sure everybody's going to be, the engineering firms are probably busy around that time. So, just so you're aware of that. I think we'll be in trouble if we're waiting and banking on that money coming from that at town meeting.
Hopefully the sale of the land takes place, and then that shifts in a different direction.
Yeah. But I also don't know how that works, because
Douglas hyphen M.A.
the surveying's one thing, surveying, but the engineering portion, the engineers are going to want a contract with the town.
Yeah, the other one's an old email address, which still works.
So being a contract with the town, we still have to have the money.
Yeah, these
Still has to be allocated.
It still has to be allocated. So
Be a little, have to have-
I know Bob says that might be taken care of with this or that, but he doesn't, I think there's some clarification. Well, I just think that logistic-wise, they can say they're gonna pay for it or whatever, but I still think
has to be-
because it's a contract with the town, we can't sign the contract
Right.
without having the money available and allocated. So,
I see what you're
there's a lot of things that come to play in this, and you just gotta get it to work right, and it's not as easy. That's why I was saying, I know you think you might have that, but we need to make sure that it's allocated, because if it's not allocated at town meeting, that might be something that shuts it all down, and then we're sitting here dead, because we missed one little thing that,
technicality. they
right,
say.
one technicality that says, we don't care, that guy can't come in and pay your bill, you have to show that you allocated it because it's your contract. So, just to throw that out there too. That door that hard to figure out?
Oh, my name is, I'm sorry. Smash the door.
All right.
All right, so what do we want to do with this? Because I don't have a full budget for you guys, I'm not sure how you want to approach this.
You know the draft?
Munis was down. Well, I only printed one copy though. Actually, Gene, I was trying to get Gene to print me the actual budget, but because Munis is down, we can't print the budget. So we don't have anything for that. I have the itemized budget, the expenditure, which has the budget on it. So it has line item by line item, but it's all of the,
That was that the one that, for the 6 month?
this was 114, so.
The one that, yeah, 114, yeah. That was the one that Gene previously printed for us.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That was exactly at the 6 month point.
Probably. Yeah, through December.
Yeah.
So I have that. This year's a nightmare budget-wise, just because the spreadsheets that I always use and follow wasn't able to be updated, so I don't have any of the numbers like I normally do and start preparing ahead of time. And like I said, I'm not sure which direction you want to try to go with this and how you want to handle it, but if you want to use last year's as a baseline, or what methodology you want to try to go forward with this.
I guess it all comes into play. You can't just take one or the other. It's kind of have to look at, we're going to need to look at what using expenditures this year, pull out what we know it's a one-time,
Yeah, so I mean, I've got this, but
and then all this, and then prepare it. Any additional projects.
so this is the sheets that I use often, because it kind of keeps us, normally this is up to date, and this is the most accurate, and I have this percentages, what's spent. But this spreadsheet wasn't able to be maintained this year, just because everything was a mess with all of the expenditures and record keeping and all that stuff, so I can't say that this is accurate, and even the spreadsheet got changed where all my totals aren't at the bottom like I normally have them, so.
Okay, so,
It's just, in this spreadsheet, there's a whole lot of linking, so some of the line items that were deleted, I need to go back in and rewrite formulas to pull the numbers from everywhere, so.
typically how I like to,
And I never receive, normally I get a sheet from the town hall that says, here's last year's, here's where you stand now, and here's what you're projected
Yeah.
next fiscal year. I didn't get those sheets this year yet.
Yeah, I've got this, but this is from, I think we got this back in August.
What's that?
This-
Oh, that's my sheet. I don't know where you got it, but, because that has my notes on the side.
I see how you have it broken out like that, but I think, I mean, for budgeting purposes, it's good to do that, so you can see exactly what's in there. But if you look at, I don't know, we went through this last year, if you look at how Gene has it allocated, like try to follow suit. So a lot of those numbers and categories, it's a lot easier to follow along.
Well, that's how this was originally designed. I took Gene's numbers and went right in order, because they're numerically in order.
Okay.
And if you look over there, look at salaries, the first line, 51100, that's my first line, 51100,
Which one are we looking at? This water or sewer?
either one.
Okay. All right, so if that's the case, it just doesn't look, this looks like a shorter version, that's why I'm just trying to see where. Well, I guess, no, I guess. Looking at
Because
it.
I created the spreadsheet basically off of her accounting sheet, so that all the account numbers lined up and they went in order.
Yeah.
I know we've added some here and there. We've not funded some line items, so some of those have blanks, but I think some of these, the formulas got deleted from my sheet, so I need to go in and recreate all the formulas, because, I mean, this is probably 100 sheets long, and it all ties together and sends numbers back to this main sheet to keep track of everything. But
I mean, I mean, the spreadsheet, do you have the spreadsheets that I gave you last year on the cover?
I tried getting those, but I didn't know.
Okay, 'cause I have the FY20 original, FY21 proposed with the breakdowns and then all the projects that we had budgeted for
Yeah.
in the spreadsheet. And that was,
And-
basically, that's in line with how.
So to throw another wrench in this, they switched us over on email, and I don't know if you've heard about that yet either, but they switched our emails over, so none of our emails are going to the same email addresses now. And I think Lee tried emailing me the same thing 5 times, and I still haven't got it. So it's not going to either one of my emails. But this is all that, going from the .org to the .gov. Well, that happened this week. So trying to get emails, and they said that these carried over to here, but half of them didn't. So now I'm trying to go between the two to find the emails, and it's all a mess right now, and that's why he's here tonight, trying to square some of that stuff away, so. On top of COVID throwing a wrench in it, switching the computer system on, so we'll blame him for all of it.
Yeah. We didn't hear it.
So that's what I was looking for, was the budget that I sent to Gene after me and you finalized that budget from last year.
Yeah, I have that in the spreadsheet.
Yeah, so I don't have that, and you never sent me that spreadsheet, so I just had the numbers that I threw in to give to Gene, but I didn't have that spreadsheet, so.
Well, how do you want to tackle it then? I guess, the numbers that you have,
That's up to you. You want me to take your spreadsheet right there? I can run a copy of it real quick, and we can just go through that and try to,
okay.
you give me a baseline off of that, and then let me know what direction you want me to.
I mean, I don't know where I got this, but everything that's in here is in this thing.
Yeah, I don't know where you got that either, because like I said, that's got my notes, which I usually don't give to you guys.
Yeah, I got, and it's in with my August stuff, so. I don't know if you like that better.
Nah, that's not really gonna happen right now.
No. All right.
I mean, this has the water, this is just both condensed.
Yep.
And then this has all broke out. And I can email it to you too, I can send it to you.
Yeah,
But for purpose of discussion.
I'm just saying, for this meeting, if we wanna.
And all these numbers sync with Gene's
Yep.
report for the budget. Alright, so you need one of those, and this is
I'm guessing there's 2 sheets for each.
the, yeah.
Yeah, one and one, and then those two are stable.
Yeah, water. Well, this one's water and sewer, I think, on, and then just road with the, that's the town, the
Yeah.
town. So, take those, and then these. I think those two top colors are the same, but just double check on that. Are they the same? I think they're the same. It was both. Yeah. We have to be, 6:45, right? We have to be
Yeah.
wrapped up, so we got
Gonna be out what time?
6:45, we're gonna be out. 6:45, we're gonna be out.
6:45?
we have another meeting coming in at 7. Have to look through the revenue to see how we're looking. We don't have
The commitment's in there.
huh?
Commitment's in there.
In where?
It's in there for you to sign. Should be about halfway through, I think.
That's right. We can these on Bob's.
Yeah. Oh, that's it right there on top.
Spring building.
Yep.
So,
Thought it looked a little low.
that's just using it. Using it is a lot more. And the billing, what we had last. What was the?
Well, that's not the fees, that's just the bill.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to see if I can find any other report. Water usage charges, yeah. So water was 397. Oh, actual, no, 227, 6. And then the sewer was. There you go. I'm gonna be back. Sewer charges. 300, so 300,000, 301,000. So 527 was last year, the first commitment on usage. We're at 479, so about 50,000 difference. That's just on the usage charges.
signatures on them?
There's already two, one here, the one signed.
Did I sign them, or?
Keith signed one.
Yeah, I was gonna say from last week.
Did you want to take a quick peek at that, Keith? And you,
No, I've got it. I had emailed, is that the one from back in January that Gene sent you?
yeah, January 14th.
Yeah, I've got that. Gene sent it to me. I didn't print it because I thought we were going to have new stuff today. I've got it here on my phone.
Well, that shows the revenue breakdown.
Yeah.
You know what would be nice to do, Bob, is look at, all the upgrades we did on all the energy efficiency with the lighting and the motors, and it'd be nice to do an analysis of that and see if we're actually saving anything. Like what if they just raise the rates and,
Oh, as far as raising rates?
all the electric bills we signed.
Yeah.
I wonder if, I'd like to see, going through all the motions and everything that we've done, if they could break that down, say we saved X number of dollars, just so people are aware of the initiative. It's a good initiative to take advantage of some of those programs.
I didn't- not
Remember how we did all the upgrading, all the motors?
Electrical, yeah.
And all that? It'd be nice to see a breakdown if we actually, what the savings was in that, on the electric bills. So,
I gave you a new copy too, so you don't mess up the originals.
just to see if it really is.
Oh, really, is the savings?
What was supposed to be a savings?
No, we upgraded all the motors and the lighting and going through, remember all that?
Yeah.
I'd like to see if you could actually.
Bill was supposed to track all that.
Yeah, if it was tracked, you could say, okay, wow, we saved,
They do track it for the green communities thing, so.
How they do.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked at it? It's actually,
Can we get that information, or?
I can look into it, but.
I'd like to see the cost that we had to spend to do it and what the payback was on that. See if we're actually-
If there was any payback?
Yeah. it is. Why that works, and we're in the same boat. You conserve.
It,
The operating expense is still the same, you can increase the cost of the,
It would be a little deceiving though,
yeah.
just because a lot of the lights that we replaced weren't working. And they weren't working for some time, but they were like the lights over the tank, so unless we paid somebody with a ladder truck or something to come in and change them all, it would have cost a fortune, so we never changed them, so we just didn't have lights over the tanks. So when they upgraded everything, we actually had lights and they worked now, so. I didn't really care for their method of reducing energy in the garage. They basically took all our 2 bulb fixtures out and put 1 bulb fixtures in. So they cut the usage in half by reducing the lights by half, but now you can't see anything in there.
to those guys?
Yep. And I have not received any of the data from the town yet as to debt, health insurance, retirement, all the ones that we have no control over. I haven't got any numbers from anyone on those yet.
And what'd you do with them? You just increased them a little bit, be on the safe side, or
I haven't increased anything.
I haven't increased anything, okay.
The numbers you're looking at are last year's,
Oh, okay.
so we'll have to use the,
Yeah, this is the year that we're currently operating.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah, I don't, there's a couple numbers on that paper that are different.
So I guess we'd probably be looking, I guess at this point, you said that you have this,
That's just what our year-to-date, what we spend and what the budget is, but
so you maybe just go over, since we don't have that to really get into on the expense side, should we just talk about the,
I'm sorry, you just said this is year-to-date, so this is current or not current?
it's supposed to be current, but I haven't had time to go through it and verify where we stand, and I
Okay.
didn't have any of the expenditure reports and everything.
Okay, but is that $470,000 combined budget
The
number
combined numbers
spent?
aren't down there, like I said, the columns were not carried down like they were.
Okay,
So we lost the formulas in the first row, which is where the numbers actually were,
okay,
so I don't know what. Like, I don't know where, like, if you look at it, the formula says there's, like, on the very last number, or not the very last, even the total combined budget, it says 470, but then it says available is 681.
yep,
I don't know where that number's generating from without having the budget line item there.
okay.
But like I said, there's like probably over 100 pages involved in this.
Yeah.
With numbers coming from everywhere.
Yep.
could you want to give us an update on the projects, ones that we had allocated for, if you look on that spreadsheet, see where we stand on that. I don't know if we're gonna, this just tells us an overview of where we are in the budget. Doesn't give us a projected budget for FY '22. So my thought is,
Right.
we can just go over, I mean, you can look at the numbers and see where we sit. And then,
I don't have a list of the ones that because I had a full list of items, and then we split it up and said, push these off until the next year, and then order these in this year.
yeah, I think that's it's on that spreadsheet I have, it has I think I broke those out. Anything that was in here was in the FY '21 budget. And then
Right.
if you look at there's an explanation on the sewer side. will say exactly what that money was to be allocated, to be spent on. So
Yeah, what I'm saying is you put in for this year's, right?
that's for the current FY '21, that was the money that was all appropriated. So like if you go down to repair and maintenance account, there was $41,000 that was built into that budget number. Out of that 41,000, it was explained, there was 2 actuators at 10,000 each, collection system repairs for 10,000, and Gilboa pump rebuilds 11,000.
Yeah.
That was,
But what I was saying is that my original list had like probably more than twice this, and then we broke that down and said, all right, let's do these and push these off until FY '22. I don't have that.
oh, that
list.
was on the professional technical. There was 50,000 that was,
Well, I think there was a lot of things that, other than just the professional and technical. I mean, there was fence repairs, there was
yeah, that
a
was,
rebuild of one of the well pumps, one of the wells. I had a whole bunch of things on there that I know we pushed some off. There was engineering for, I think, 25,000, because there was 25,000 for filter rehab,
yeah, that was,
which should be under this year's, and then 25,000 roughly. I'd have to get an updated price for the engineering to evaluate.
that was for 2 filters. We had 25,000 budgeted this year for 2 filters. Filter rehab.
We have 2 filters, that's to rehab 1.
Okay.
So the intent was the rehab 1, as I discussed back then, we have 2 filters. I wanted to rehab 1 and change it from the 10 micron to the 5 micron filter,
Yeah.
because we're beyond the useful life, what they claim is the useful life on those filters. So we do 1, and then when we have 1 at the 5 micron, and we still have the old ones at the 10 micron, when they run the pilot study, which would fall into this next fiscal year's budget, if we were going to move forward with that, is to evaluate it and see what the difference is, and if we can use less chemical with the 5 micron, and, where we get with removal numbers,
Yeah,
so we know where we would be
for the phosphorus.
in the event of, well, it's phosphorus, aluminum, because
Oh, that's right.
the new permit's gonna, I already know, I can guarantee it's gonna have an aluminum in it, and which we would blow out of the water right now because we use aluminum to get rid of the phosphorus. So I was trying to get ahead of the game by saying, all right, we know the filters need to be replaced, let's replace that set with a 5 micron filter, and we do the pilot study and let them run it through both sets of filters. And even though the 10 micron wouldn't be exactly representative of new 10 micron, it would still give us a good idea of what the difference in treatment, what we could achieve for the 5 micron as opposed to the 10 micron. And maybe we can get away with the 10 micron. And if we can get away with the 10 micron, then I'd say switch to, keep the 5 micron. But when we rehab the other one, which should be shortly after, after we did the engineering study and try to figure out, and I'm assuming EPA will come out with our draft permit fairly soon, I'd say probably this year. And once we get the draft, we'll see where they're shooting for a limit. And if we had the pilot study done, then we could say, all right, well, they're shooting for this limit, and we can achieve that with the 10 micron old filters. There's no need to jump down to a 5 micron for both filters, but if we already have a 5, it'll just polish it up better. So if we had some kind of issue, if we had an upset in the plant, that would polish it up better and maybe not exceed limits. But if we can get away with the 10 micron, then we could set up the other one with 10 micron. It's not any savings in cost.
Yeah.
It just would reduce backwashes and stuff like that, and that would reduce cost overall if you're backwashing less. And so if we set one up as a 10 micron and one up as a 5 micron, we'd run off the 10 micron during winter months, 5 micron during summer months. We could alternate where we don't have to run both filters at the same time, because both filters are designed to run the full capacity of the plant.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would put us back at the, just an overview, how this budget was broken out. If you look at the FY '21, which is proposed, so that was like, if you went down to the line item when we talked about the filters,
Yeah.
that was,
So I have not done the filters yet.
so that would be, so that budget item should be, it was 30,000. 25 of that 30,000 is put towards filter rehab, and then the other 5,000 of, so we double check that to make sure. Just for discussion purposes, so like if you look at the repair and maintenance account on the sewer side. Repair and maintenance. Okay, so the budget was 76, so if you took the 35 was basic, the day-to-day stuff that we went through, the normal operation stuff that we had budgeted, the additional amount that was added to the normal amount would be like the 41,000 additional to the 35,000, so.
Yeah.
And that was specifically allocated for to get those projects that we talked about done.
Yep.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. Collection system repair, we haven't been in a good time of year to do that yet. I know that we still have to get that done. So that will be used. And actually, a manhole on Martin Road came up today, the ring is ripping up, so we had to rip that out, so that manhole will have to get done before that manhole cover falls in the hole.
Yeah. And some of that may be covered already in that stuff you don't know, we didn't know about, and that's obviously repair and maintenance, that's what that budget's for.
Yeah, the Gilboa Street pump station, that's been done. It came up a little bit higher than anticipated because the motor, they said, was no good. And as we discussed whenever we went through that grant that we were talking about earlier, they backed out of some of what they originally proposed to us to do because they found out that that motor was an oddball motor, very hard to get and a lot more expensive than they originally anticipated when they went through the grant program. So they just put the VFDs on instead of replacing the motor. But when they pulled the pump to rebuild it, they said the motor's no good, the bearings are shot, and you know, it's at the point that it's not worth trying to rebuild the motor, so you have to buy a new motor, so. So we went a little over on that line item because we had to replace the motor at the tune of like $2,500 on top of what we originally estimated for the pump.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that repair came in, what was it, like 13.6, if I remember right?
Somewhere around there,
I mean, if you want, just so we can schedule out.
yeah. Yeah, so so the Gilboa pump's done, collection system repairs are still in need to be done, but can't do those really during the winter. The two actuators, we're working on those. Those will be done as well. The professional and technical for 50, that was originally supposed to be 150. We broke it down into 3 years, but that was just the first phase was supposed to be the 150. And the proposal, they kind of broke it down based on the fact that we only had 50 available, and you need additional money allocated at the special town meeting to finish that.
Yeah, what was the Route 25, I think, right?
Somewhere around there, yeah. And that's still not even the first phase that needed to be done, but that was what they could get it down to and what needed, you know, just the minimum they could do for this year. But then there'll be additional work that needs to be done next year. They're coming out the week of the 15th to install all the meters that they need to put in, and they'll start all the monitoring. They said they'll start at the end of the month, but it's basically starting April 1st.
So that type of expense, I think, should come out of the, I don't know, we need an article for that, it should come out of the operational budget. And then, just for the wording for that other, to get with that number we talked about, we don't need that, go back, digress, but that 102, that's gonna change, so if it's gonna drop, just on available funds that we have, I think that should be, all I'm saying, if it's 25,000 that's needed for the current year, that can be used for the operation that we know we have to do. I think that money should be used, and then the difference should be appropriated for that engineering. So we can get that final number. And it may still be the 102, I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I don't think
just not tying the.
I'm not sure I followed you on that one.
Okay. If we have available funds within the current budget that we know that we needed an additional 25 for that line item.
Okay, yeah. All right, I think I know what you're saying. I said I had the additional 60 from the other project.
Right.
You want to utilize that to finish this.
And then when we get, if we can then see where we are and get closer to where that, we need to know what that number is, so we don't reduce it too much or not go for the 102.
But my problem with that was
Spending the engineering.
I can't start the engineering on any of those projects until it's approved at town meeting and they designed the proposal so that they could get up to a certain point, and if it didn't get funded at town meeting, they have enough time in that month to get done the last steps of what they need in this project.
Right.
So to allocate the money for this project can wait until then. But to allocate the money for all those upgrades and the engineering that needs to be done, if we wait until May, the first week in May, the 30 days might not be enough time for the engineers to complete that project. So if I allocate it the way that you're saying, and I use that money that's already available because it wasn't spent, and then I rely on the article to pay for that, I gotta wait until that article passes before I can approve Stantec to move forward on any of that engineering project.
Yeah. That was just one of the numbers. I don't know if it's on all the other projects that we had looked at. Are they all going to be completed? Or, and did we expend the money that we normally expend as a line item in that? So I guess it's still budgeting. It's a work in progress. I'm trying to see where we end up. But
Yeah. And like I said, some of these I could hold off on if you didn't want to get them done this year, to hold off on spending the money and reallocate. I mean, it throws off line items, according to the buckets, but overall, our budget is salaries and expenses, so we're gonna go over on one line item and under on another. That doesn't bother me, but I'm just saying for...
not for budgeting purposes, right, but we know that, and you get the details, we write that down, we know that, okay, we didn't do this in this year, but we have to budget for it again, and then use that money in this current year to help that situation that we're facing now with the engineering and some of these other projects that we know that we were short on.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we were over on some of these items as well. Let's see, water. I have to look at this sheet. I'm not sure if these numbers are.
Like you said, we got the 75, which is, that one's actually going to be at 15, so we have substantial savings there. And then we had 20,000 that was on top of the normal repairs and maintenance of 25. We had an additional 20 that we put into the building repairs and the primary fence repair.
Yep.
So the repair and maintenance account of that is 55,000, but we had specifically allocated, the 20 for those projects that we discussed. The other 25 out of the normal.
Where'd you get the 50? What was it?
It'd be 45 is what it would come out to. So you got a 25 that was in the FY proposed under repair and maintenance on the water side, with an additional 20 added to that. So it should be, the repair and maintenance should be 45 on the water side. The total budget,
Yep.
is that correct? Do you want to get that?
Yeah, I believe your statement is correct.
Yeah. And does that sync with Gene's numbers as well? Just to be sure. It should. It's pretty detailed on that. Let's see.
$90,000, yep. 90,000 under professional and technical.
No, repair and maintenance.
Yeah.
45 under repair and maintenance.
Yeah, okay, so that's accurate, so that's how that was broken out, so we.
Yep.
So and I'm sorry, because you two were going back and forth, and you lost me for about 30 seconds because you don't talk clear. So, on the sewer side, the professional and technical, okay, that is not, I didn't think that's the project that we were applying to the 102,000. I thought the project that we were applying to the 102,000 was coming out of the water side in that professional and technical.
Correct.
Okay.
But that's what that's what I meant by, you guys speaking little things, but yeah, it was, that's what I was referring to as it's in the wrong bucket.
Yeah, okay.
That's money that we allocated on the water side, now you're talking about moving over to do a sewer project.
Yeah.
But overall, our budget isn't designed to be broken out like this.
Right.
It is for our purposes, so
Yeah.
you can nitpick and get down to certain numbers on certain things, but overall, we got salaries and expenses.
Yeah.
And it's not even divided out between water and sewer. We got a total salaries, total
Yeah.
expenses. So we can move within
Right,
these
right,
things.
right. No, and I'm aware of that, but I just,
So yeah, so to answer your question, yes, that money difference that was saved
Yep.
during that study is on the water side, and some of the conversation was on the sewer side, but it
Yep.
depends on if you want to move that and use it for this, or if we want to use this for the water project that may not be able to be completed in time
Yeah.
if we wait. So-
okay. And the project on the sewer side is something that needs to be, so that money needs to be allocated again next year. Correct?
That I've got to get an update from them, because this initial phase would give us an idea of what the next phase will be.
Right.
So they should have this phase done by the end of June. And then we'll know what the next step would be.
Yep.
But they can give me a ballpark as to what an estimate would be that we need to move forward with.
Yeah. But we'll be done this process by then.
I'm hoping they'll have enough information to give me a ballpark. It won't be completed, because as I said, to get the final report and all that stuff, that was what they pulled out, because we didn't have enough money in the budget to cover the full scope of the first project.
Okay.
There was enough money that was allocated, but there would be enough money. That was for the topic of discussion for the exercise that we just went through talking about that, but there's other line items that there was a lot less money, available money that we could use. That was the question. That's how we just got, I think it shifted a
Yeah.
little bit different time. It was complicated to try to follow that. I apologize for that, but it was, I think Bob knew where I was. I think-
Yeah, and that's it. We're, like you said, it was
No,
hard
I
to
know.
follow.
It's
because me
just
and him,
you two.
we get halfway through and he's just nodding his head. He understands that
Yeah.
we're on the same page, but you two are probably lost.
I didn't mean to complicate that at all, but it was just for a purpose of discussion as that was only one line item,
Yeah.
not the whole one.
Unfortunately, it's not really this that's complicated. It's just so many things that we're trying to wrap into.
Yeah, no, I get it.
to Minimize
Yeah.
what articles we have to write.
That's right, because I oversimplify stuff sometimes. So, not to jump ahead, so will the filter rehab be done this year, or do we need to reallocate that for next year too?
That's a matter of scheduling with aqua aerobics, and they weren't doing anything with the COVID, so I couldn't get them out here to do the project.
Yep.
So it's a matter of whether or not things break and not break, but, all the craziness breaks and we can actually get back to work.
Yeah.
I mean, we're working, but trying to get vendors in to do stuff has been a nightmare, so
Okay.
if I can still get them in to do it, yeah, I want to get it done. So move that one.
So example being, again, that filter rehab wasn't done, it was 25,000, that was budgeted for that. That could go into, correct, the,
Gotcha, yeah.
But we do have the Cemetery Street project went over because we had to do the remaining section of that street that we didn't anticipate when we were doing the budget. But I did mention that when we were going through the budget, that could double based on whether or not we had to continue down cemetery.
Do we have a final number, the total on that project? I know there was a whole bunch of stuff that I signed, but I never,
I don't have the total number off the top of my head, but
I was gonna ask you
yeah,
to do that.
could we get that?
Just for purpose, for budgeting purposes, I was more curious on what the cost per foot on, if we were to install any of the lines, to give us a budgeting number and say, okay, we know this was at 800 feet and it costs X $100 with doing it in-house
yeah, it was,
per foot, so it kind of gives us an idea of what, for budgeting purpose, so if we decide to do another road somewhere, we can say, well,
Right.
you know, historically, this is what that broke out to, and we know where we were.
I would say it was, ballpark was probably around 30 to 35 total, based on all the numbers that were written in as cemetery. And that was about 950 feet. So 3157 a foot, which I wouldn't recommend you use that as a budgeting number.
I was gonna say,
No,
yeah.
that was
that's,
as a rec, just for.
I can tell you what, you know, that would have been,
That doesn't include labor. I mean, does it?
No, that was,
no.
No, I was just looking at the bills that we signed, just that number, not the labor.
But if we did that, the normal process, it would have been 1.75 million.
yeah, that's great.
That doesn't sound right, I'm gonna redo that number.
I'm gonna stop bringing my laptop, it'd be easier than using my phone.
I was actually gonna bring mine, because I had the spreadsheets up, and I'm like, it's
No,
not.
175,000. It was off.
I was gonna say your decimal point was
Like,
off.
that ain't right. What numbers are we using for all these other projects? So 175,000,
Yeah, we did it
For what,
a
30?
little over 30, somewhere around 30.
which is good, and it's a good project, it's successful, and it worked out well.
We only got about 10 minutes to wrap this up. You gotta be out.
Oh,
Less
actually,
than that.
we gotta be out.
Yeah, we're gonna be out now.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta be out now.
Yeah,
They forgot me on time now.
yeah. So, all right, so we could probably schedule another meeting, and then kind of go through it, do the same format.
So, yeah, if you email me this
Yeah.
spreadsheet, and I'll try to combine it with what I have.
Yeah. And this basically syncs with Gene's side, all the budget numbers.
And the primary generator, that should come in a little under as well.
Yeah, that was, we got 37,000.
What was 33 was earmarked for the generator.
Yeah.
And I did find someone that can get me the 600 volt. You know, the electrician was trying to talk me down on the size,
Yeah.
but I found someone to get basically the same exact size generator.
Yeah.
And I think it was 21 something, where that company wanted to repair it for 18.
Good, how are you?
And that'll be done this year?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have a problem getting a room next week.
Well,
That's why we had to do this one
That was
this
the whole
week.
reason we did this week, and why I was
Yep.
kind of ill-prepared for this meeting, because when we originally discussed,
Yeah, it
we
was-
originally discussed having the meeting, we said the week of the 8th.
The week of the 8th.
So I had
Yeah.
planned on the week of the 8th, and
Yeah,
then,
well, Munis was down too, that didn't help you guys.
yeah, so then this weekend when I worked, I rebuilt half of Colonial, changed the checks and pulled the pumps and everything up there. We had issues up there, so I just said, screw it, I'm gonna fix it once we're done with it, so. I spent most of the weekend working on that, and then the power outage brought me in at 10:30 and worked through that whole next day, so.
Wait, horsepower down the plant?
No,
Oh.
treatment plan held. thank
I was
God.
gonna say, that held, yeah. Oh, the water.
Every single
Right,
water
yeah.
station, booster station and all 3 wells,
Yeah.
Franklin Street tank, everything went down during that storm from 10:30 to 4:44.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 6:50.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So